800 years ago, if you lent money at 20% interest, you weren't called an entrepreneur. You were called a criminal. It was a crime against nature known as usury. Today, banks call that same deal a platinum opportunity. How did a capital crime become the single most profitable product in human history? The answer is simple. The financial industry realized that you are no longer the customer. You are the collateral. In 1950, the total American consumer debt was almost non-existent by modern standards. If you wanted a TV, you saved cash. If you wanted a house, you put 50% down. Debt was a temporary burden, a shameful necessity to be eliminated as fast as possible. But in 1958, a drop of ink changed history. The Bank of America mailed out 60,000 unsolicited plastic cards to residents in Fresno, California. They called it the Bank AmeriCard. It was the first mass-market credit card. It was the moment that the banking industry realized that they didn't need to wait for you to need money. They could productize the very act of spending it. Today, total U.S. household debt sits at over $18 trillion. That isn't a sign of a healthy economy. It is a sign of a perfectly engineered extraction machine. They have turned debt from a financial emergency into a lifestyle brand. They have convinced you that your credit score, a number that measures how good you are at being profitable to them, is a measure of your worth as a human being. But here is the secret they don't want you to know. The system is designed to keep you in the revolving door. If you pay off your balance every month, they call you a deadbeat. That is the actual industry term for a responsible person. They don't want you to be solvent. They want you to be a host for the parasite of compound interest. Before we peel back the layers of how this trap was built, I want to hear from you. How many pre-approved credit card offers did you throw in the trash this week? Or worse, how many are you currently paying off? Drop a comment below. What you are about to learn will explain why those letters keep coming and why the system is terrified of you becoming debt-free. In a medieval village, debt was a relationship. If the local miller lent money to a baker to build a new oven, the miller watched that oven like a hawk. He cared if the bread was good. He cared if the baker was working hard. Why? Because if the baker failed, the miller lost his gold. The risk was concentrated. The lender and the borrower were tied together by the reality of the loan. But in the 1970s, Wall Street inventors created a mechanism that severed this bond forever. They called it securitization. To the medieval mind, this would look like black magic. Modern banks realize that holding on to your loan is dangerous. If you stop paying, they lose money. So they decided not to hold it. They decided to sell it. Here is how the trick works. The moment you sign your mortgage papers or your car loan, the bank takes your debt, bundles it together with thousands of other debts from strangers, and turns it into a bond. They slice this bundle up and sell it to pension funds, foreign governments, and unsuspecting investors. They call this liquidity. But in reality, it is the industrialization of indifference. The bank that lends you the money today doesn't care if you can pay it back in 5 years. They only care if you can pay the fees today. By the time you default, your loan is someone else's problem. It is buried deep inside a complex derivative owned by a teacher's pension fund in Norway. This broke the fundamental law of lending. If the chef doesn't have to eat his own cooking, he doesn't care if the food is poisoned. But once they ran out of qualified borrowers, they had to invent new ways to force debt upon us. Enter the fintech loan shark. They realized 400% interest rates scared people, so they reinvented the packaging. They gave us buy now, pay later. It sounds innocent. It's marketed as financial wellness, but it is actually a surgical removal of pain. When a peasant bought a cow, he felt the physical pain of handing over silver. That pain is a biological break. It stops you from overextending. Buy now, pay later hacks your biology. You click a button, you get the dopamine hit of the shoes or the pizza, but you feel zero financial pain. The result? You are paying interest on a burrito you ate 3 months ago. You are financing a lifestyle that evaporates the moment you consume it. But there is one debt product more insidious than all the series. Product designed to capture you before you earn your first dollar. In the medieval guild, an apprentice paid with his time. After 7 years, he was a free man with a trade. We replaced that with student loans. Parents and teachers tell you, it's not debt, it's an investment. They sit an 18-year-old child down, someone not legally allowed to buy a beer, and hand them a contract for $100,000. For a business loan? Impossible. For a degree in philosophy? The check clears instantly. Why? Because of 2005. That was the year bankruptcy laws were changed. You can go bankrupt on gambling. You can go bankrupt on a failed business. You can even go bankrupt on a Ferrari. But you cannot bankrupt your student loans. This isn't a loan. It is modern indenture. It is a shackle that follows you to the grave. They can garnish your wages. They can seize your tax refunds. They can garnish your Social Security when you are 80. We are eating our young to keep the balance. Sheets green. So, what is the end game? The people running this system know a secret they will never say on the evening news. The debt will never be paid back. Mathematically, it is impossible. There isn't enough real value in the world to settle the accounts. So, they have chosen the soft default. Inflation? They sold you a loan denominated in dollars. But by printing trillions of new dollars to keep the system floating, they are actively destroying the value of the currency your labor is priced in. They are paying you back in worthless paper. They have built a world where debt is the asset and you are the liability. They don't want your money, they want your future. They want to harvest your labor for the next 30 years to service a loan created out of thin air. So, how do you opt out? You stop buying the product. You realize that every dollar of interest you pay is a penny on your freedom. You reject the normal life of financing cars you can't afford and degrees that don't pay. You return to the medieval mindset of solvency. You buy assets you can hold, gold, land, skills, things that do not rely on a bank's permission to exist. They turn debt into the most profitable product in history by convincing you that you cannot live without it. Prove them wrong. The system is rigged, but the exit door is unlocked. It just takes the courage to walk through it. If you want to keep digging up the wisdom the banks are trying to bury, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep digging.